YouTube has a mad demonetizing issue right now. Yeah, but the only reason why that's the case is because of the expectation of ad revenue that came before. So the only reason why people perceive like a monetization issue on YouTube is because the ad revenue before was better than it is now. I don't know if that makes sense. So people are remembering what it was. And that is coloring what it is. But if you compare YouTube's ad revenue and how much it makes for content creators versus Twitch, right? So like it's all in perspective. People are literally getting their stuff demonetized for dumb, illogical reasons and having their monetization stolen by fake shell companies claiming their content. Yes, that's true, but that's not YouTube's ability to impact that. People could just as easily do that on Twitch. They don't because Twitch is not big enough to have those problems, but they will be. And then it's not YouTube's fault. YouTube has no way to deal with that. The only way that YouTube, how does YouTube deal with copyright law? Like they're required by law to fulfill DMCA requests. So they have to do that, even if that's like, you don't blame that, blame the BS copyright lawyers and lobbyists in Washington that are doing that. I hate that too, right? Of course, but it's not YouTube that's doing that. It's YouTube following the law as well as they can to do it. The difference is as major format, you can't claim a live stream. Absolutely you can. That's wrong. You can totally claim a live stream. If someone plays copyrighted music on a live stream, you can DMCA that. And you could take down that channel on Twitch because that person is doing that. You can DMCA anything about any live stream. Nintendo has DMCA Twitch streams for streaming games. There's definitely been plenty of DMCA things that have been streamed for live content. It has nothing to do with live versus VOD. People get taken down on Twitch all the time. It's just far fewer DMCA requests get submitted through Twitch than they do on YouTube because of the prevalence of the platform. So if you submit a DMCA request, then the company is obligated by law to fulfill that request, right? So the problem is. So what I'm trying to say is the problem is our copyright laws, okay? And the funny thing is that it's actually this. Do you want to know the most hilarious thing? Are you ready for this? The whole reason why copyright is a problem on YouTube is because the monetization is so good. Everybody says that the monetization is terrible on YouTube and everybody's getting demonetized. Well, what's happening is those copyright companies are coming in and claiming those videos for monetization because they know they can make money doing that. They're not doing that on Twitch because Twitch's monetization isn't as good. So if Twitch's monetization was even as good as YouTube or remotely close to it, then those people would be doing copyright claims here. It has to do with copyright law and the way that lobbying works to get these things passed. It has nothing to do with YouTube versus Twitch or whatever. YouTube is a better platform for monetization overall. There's far more revenue coming through YouTube than Twitch, right? And so companies have every incentive to game the system. So the system is set up in a way where if I submit a copyright claim, I am liable to I'm breaking federal law under perjury to submit a false DMCA claim. But for whatever reason, the feds will never follow up on this stuff. And so companies have figured that out. And what they're doing is they're just submitting DMCA requests with no consequences. The government's very unlikely to follow up, right? The government's the only people that can enforce this policy. But on the other end, they tell the companies, if you don't respond to DMCA requests, you are in violation of federal law. And then we will charge you more, right? So like companies like Twitch and YouTube are on a really tough position because on one hand, they can't ignore DMCA requests because they're required by federal law to do so. On number two, they can't enforce it themselves because they can't knock down every company that's submitting these DMCA requests. It's a huge problem. But people blame YouTube, but I don't think they completely understand the scope of the problem. Does the same thing apply when a large company like Sony DMCA's content that a user created themselves? I think no. So I think what there's a difference between copyright trolls and there's like legitimate copyright claims, right? I mean, Sony has every right to do that. Whether they should or shouldn't is a moral question that I don't know if I should get into. That's not to. So I'm not excusing YouTube completely from the problem, because the big problem that YouTube has is this, and in my opinion, what they're doing that is like a little bit weird is the offensive content thing. So their algorithm is having a lot of trouble flagging content that's considered hateful or offensive, and it lets through stuff that's like pro-racism, pro-Nazism, stuff like that, and then it demonetizes people like Philip DeFranco, who like should never ever be demonetized, basically, because they're talking about a school shooting or something. So that, I think, is a YouTube problem, right? It's a problem that the platform is not figuring out what content makes sense to post and is enforcing and demonetizing videos incorrectly. The system flags things that it shouldn't flag, is what I'm trying to say. And that's not good. That's definitely not good. That's an entirely YouTube-based thing. But that is also a big problem in the ecosystem of YouTube, which is like, well, I think we could all agree as a community that we shouldn't give well, maybe we can't all agree, but I think that we shouldn't give a platform to like serious demagogues for racism or the Nazi party, or killing all of a certain group of people or things like that. I think those are just objectively bad ideas, and probably shouldn't have big followings and platforms on YouTube. So there should be some sort of enforcement via the platform that gets rid of that stuff. And there's so much of it that the only answer has to be automated. So the machine learning has to take the time to get that algorithm right, and that's kind of like what's going on here. Hopefully the AI is getting better. I don't know enough about it to tell you if they are, if it is. But the idea is that the machine learning starts with a set of variables. So it's like, okay, when someone talks about killing all of this race, I flag that. When someone talks about Nazi ideals, I flag that. When someone like raises their hand and says like praise Hitler, I flag that, right? And then it like goes through this thing, and there's like a lot of variables, and then it starts returning results, and some percentage of the results are going to be false, and some percentage of the results are going to be true. My guess is that like YouTube is probably within like a 98% confidence ratio or more when it comes to like how it flags its videos, but that's still bad, right? Because it means 2 out of every 100 videos are bad. So, for example, Amazon, on another example, this make more sense, I think. Amazon is currently experimenting with self-driving trucks, and self-driving trucks are really neat. They have the potential to upset an entire industry, but also make trucking a lot more efficient, and fuel costs go down and everything. Right now, Amazon is 98% effective at driving automated trucks, okay? So like a truck's being entirely automated through countrysides and through most trucking lanes. It works right now. But the reason we don't have automated trucks on the road is because of the 2% problem, right? That 2% of the time when they go into cities, they crash into things. So you can't do that. We can't have, we need it to be 100% effective. We can't have any automated trucks crashing into things, right? That's not good. So YouTube has the same problem, where YouTube can flag 98 videos properly, but if it flags 2 out of 100 videos, there's some number where it's not okay. And it's probably within that same ratio, right? 98 to 99%. 1 out of every 100 videos getting flagged is still going to get attention. So it has to be like 0.000015 or something. But to get technology and machine learning to that point where it consider those variables and get that correct takes time. Takes a lot of time and takes an enormous amount of resources. So YouTube is pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into trying to figure this out. And it just needs, there's no substitute for it besides time. There's just nothing else you can do, to my knowledge. I guess you could hire a zillion people, which YouTube has also done. Like YouTube's also hired a zillion people to sit there and individually try to evaluate this content. I think the largest thing is YouTube not caring about the 2%. But it does. They obviously do. They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to try to solve these problems. It's just that it's the social media flywheel. When somebody comes in and says, "Oh, my video was flagged," YouTube doesn't care. Like 90% of the time that I actually see that, I see YouTube responding on Twitter to that person immediately, being like, "Hey, send us a message. Like, let's see what's going on." YouTube will miss some, but they're spending a lot of time and resources to try to solve this problem. The issue is that someone goes on social media, demonizes YouTube. It's super easy to jump behind demonizing the corporation, because like being a corporation isn't cool, and then you oh, you're stomping on the little guy, like evil YouTube, and then you and then you legitimately like raise hell. And then YouTube's like, no, like we're trying to fix it, but we're still screwing up. Like we're trying to get it, and then nobody cares. Like nobody's listening to what YouTube's actually doing or paying attention to it. They're just focusing on the individual content creators that are getting flagged. But for the vast majority of content creators on YouTube, the platform works fine. And it's a really, and like the thing I guess I would want to say, it's a really hard problem what they're trying to solve. This is a really tough problem, right? How many videos are being uploaded per second to YouTube? Like, there's 300 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every minute. 5 billion videos are watched every single day. That is a crazy problem, right? Like that is such a hard issue. 1.3 billion people use YouTube. That's a seventh of the earth, right? This is a really hard issue. How do you deal with 300 hours of content per minute? There's no way to solve that manually, right? So you have to use machine learning, but machine learning is not perfect. You see what I'm saying? This is why, like, when people demonize YouTube, it frustrates me, because like YouTube is trying. They're spending so much money and resources on trying to do this. Like there is, I'm not like completely exonerating them. There is some incompetence. There's incompetence in every corporation of that size. But generally, for being the largest content platform on earth, they're doing pretty well, considering that like I can go to youtube.com and pretty reliably, I've never seen on my page, I won't ever see like, hey, here's about killing a race of like, let's kill all these people, or like I'm getting the content, I'm getting served the content as a user that I want to see, right? Which is like weeb stuff, Joe Rogan, various mixes of music. Piranha Plant is OP, okay? Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to see. And this is why, by the way, I'm much harsher on Twitch than I am on YouTube. Because most of the issues for Twitch are incompetence issues. It's just because the company is just not doing well. They just aren't making good decisions. Versus YouTube is trying to make decisions that are good. It just takes time to execute on these decisions.
Little walk, small talk, big thoughts. Gonna tell them all just what I want. That street, 2 streets, I see you and me hanging on the empty swings.